first ban, and it's going to be Ymir. Frezzy really well known for this god, and Giannis banned out by Team Dignitas, sort of just a good god to get rid of in general. Giannis really making a statement here in our split 2.
One more ban. It's going to be Neath. I think most people expected here. First pick option to Epsilon. A lot still on the table. Sylvanas going to be grabbed, which means Bologna's still open. You love Bologna. Would that be your pick right here?
Oh, definitely. Bologna's good against everything, and you can put Bologna in what? You can put him in solo. You can put him in mid if you really want to.
Put him in ADC.
We've seen Bologna played from the Hunter role a number of times this split, but it is going to be Cabrakan. There's the Bologna. Interesting choice, guys. I feel like this Cabrakan was picked probably earlier than he needed to be.
I think it'd be fair. We asked Weekend if Bologna would be the pick. Bologna locked in. Would Cabrakan also be your pick?
No, I'm not a Cabrakan player.
So here's my problem, right, is that Cabrakan gets picked this early, which again is generally seen as a weak pickup. He does have some strength in some matchups, but by putting Cabrakan in there now, they're guaranteeing that their solo and their jungle have already been picked unless they put Bologna in the ADC lane, and I don't know.
They could always put Cabrakan in the support if they really wanted to.
I mean, they could.
It's European.
They put Bologna in support too, I guess.
Isis is going to be picked up on Epsilon, and this is really where I was afraid the Cabrakan pick was going to go. Cabrakan's tremors are used. Cuvo Fred tends to use it later on so that they have less of a chance of being canceled by CC immunity abilities. But with Isis, she's got a silence. And I would be very surprised if Epsilon didn't go the way of silences and stuns.
She has a silence,
and
she has a stun, she has slow immunity and knockback immunity to make sure she can get out of it for free. Or she could just put down circular protections, hang out in it, and then blow them to hell. She has literally 4 options against one of his most effective spacing tools. The only thing that they can do really is if they catch her with the wing gust down, they might be able to lock her in, get that raw ult off. But for right now, Epsilon looks like they have the better draft.
So, yeah, I mean, Dignitas coming out with this Cabrakan pick, they're really leaning on the solid burst damage, not the control.
Serket gets banned away. All junglers everywhere cry a tear of overbearing sorrow as somehow Serket considered largely to be one of the best characters in the game currently, making it through 6 picks.
I know someone that likes Serket a little bit.
Yeah, I love to play Serket, but in this meta, you can really put yourself in a bad spot by rushing the pick.
Sure.
And that's what you just really have to worry about. That's why you're seeing those late picks and those late bans on Serket.
Speaking of rushed picks here, Athena picked up number 7 very early for who is considered the best support in the game, tied with Sylvanas.
Had to get that Cabrakan pick out of the way.
It's very important. But they have this double Guardian meta. Only one Hunter, it seems. The final pick there will probably be, it looks like Medusa with the way that things are shaping up.
Very standard sort of pick ban situation coming out for Epsilon with respect to they noticed in the first round of picks that Team Dignitas had yet to find their hunter, so they banned out Apollo, one of the more powerful hunters. It's just, we noticed that you haven't picked it, so we'll just ban you out of it. Odin locked in for Epsilon.
Epsilon has actually, it looks like they're paying tribute to Weekend here as they lock in a perfect comp for AFK.
No, I love the Odin pickup. You can focus raw the entire game. You can lock in both of the Guardians. The Bologna ults in, you can ult him also. And assuming they pick up a hunter here, then it's the perfect pick.
Well, I mean, like, Odin for Weekend, Alquang for Cyclone, Isis for Kiki. Like, this is perfect. Onher's going to get locked in.
And so, taking a look at the Onher pick, I think you were right. Medusa would be a choice pick, but because of the Odin, locks Medusa out of that pick. So Team Dignitas, I don't want to say forced into Onher. It's not like Onher is a poor choice, but they get forced into the Hunter with a jump.
Which is important, right?
Fair.
Because Onher's early game is going to be about the same relevancy. He'll have a little bit more kill potential in the 1v1 and 2v2, whereas Medusa going to have a much better early mid-game fight, like team fighting at the mid-camps, Gold Furies, things like that. Onher will suffer a little bit in that damage regard, and it's got to hurt being forced into the Onher when they have the Athena Medusa set up.
For sure. And as we go ahead and get into the game itself, the question of where we would see this Odin that we didn't ask, but everybody at home was most likely asking, will be found. And adapting, we'll be playing that Alquang in the jungle. Ninja Dimmy will take Odin into the solo lane.
Did you know that the firework emote was specifically put in for Epsilon to spray when Raffer was allowed to play again?
There it is, folks. First one.
There'll be a new one coming out for Weekend, right?
No, please.
Not quite. So Alquang is a character that we honestly, when he was released, there was a lot of cries of overpowered, and I feel like he hasn't really made a statement in the SPL
nerfed
outside
like
of
7 times. Poor guy. He's like, I was in the game for 2 years, and then they made me change into this other thing, and then they're like nerfing me into the ground, and then Cyclone Spin came out of nowhere and showed that he was completely OP still, beating Bologna, and then we buffed him.
So what is it that allows a character like Ao Kwang to play both proficiently in the solo lane and the jungle that we can?
The mobility is the key. If you know how to use the dash properly, you're going to be able to get in and out safely, and I think that's what's the actual key. And then also that ult being buffed is insane for team fights.
I'm actually pretty surprised here to see that the Ao Kwang is the jungle and not the solo laner, just because that's what we're used to in North America, especially with, Week and you playing Odin all the time and him almost never doing well from the solo lane. And then on the other side, Bologna, who's probably a better jungle, but she is also probably a better solo than Cabrakan, and Cabrakan takes the solo lane anyway. It's very confusing on the side of the map for me. What do you think?
Yeah, with this game, you have 4 gods here that could go in every which role in the solo and jungle. And, I mean, it's going to work out, I'm sure, for both teams, but it is weird to say.
Uh-oh.
Jeez!
Big damage coming out from the Cabrakan. That's what we're talking about. The last hit does go to Frostiak. First blood taken at just underneath the 50-second mark here. Team Dignitas starts things off with a bang.
Close your Gmail, guys. That is just how much damage Cabrakan does. They don't need any bug reports. He just swings.
He really does. I mean, that's the core. That's why they call him Fat Loki.
Wow, where was regular Loki? They had such a good chance. Raffer moving forward. Can we hover on Sylvanas here? He does have Nature's Grasp. He's going to be looking for it here. And he's got it. Pulled him back far. Was that a taunt?
It might have been a little bit of damage. Couple of more hits from the Rom.
One more?
One more. Not quite enough. Runs out of the Astral Arrows. So Emilito forced to be a little less aggressive. But immediately we see the impact of Raffer rejoining the squad.
Yaman not taking as much damage as he could have thanks to Adapt and moving slightly out of the range there of the bludgeon. He doesn't take the damage from the swing, meaning he doesn't take damage from the slam, which is very important.
Solo lane still grinding a little bit. Odin, despite the first blood going the way of the solo lane, it didn't go on to Cabrakan. So nothing to be extra afraid of right there as far as the solo lane is concerned. Just have to be hyper aware of that burst damage. And speaking of burst damage, suffering a lot in the mid lane is Frostiak, and Adapting will go ahead and pick up a kill for himself.
Wait, Yaman's got a block. Yaman didn't, he didn't hit the stun. Beam. Oh,
wow.
All 3 of us just like backed up a little bit. I'm like, whew.
I even heard some gas from the other side of the room. Variety just barely dodging, and he's going to go ahead, use the ultimate, turn it around onto Ninja Dimmy. There's the stun, one shot, and another battle of the basics here, folks. Someone's going to go down, and it will be Variety.
I am very surprised to see Variety somehow not get the kill there, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you see this Odin has a potion ticking on top of the fact that he had that death toll for extra damage. Frostiak makes the slow, and he'll have enough mana to jump here. Yeah, he was waiting for the bludgeon, but she's
very aggressive here in the early minutes of this game, which is not really the cause of knowing how the EU scene really goes. Damage again onto Ra. Little duck, dodge, and weave coming out. And with that Speed of Light passive, should be fine. Mid-camps have spawned. Right side goes to Team Dignitas. Left side looks like it's been taken by Epsilon.
Frostiak will be able to escape from that one. In the backside, you're going to see Shadow Nightmare actually picking up the back camps. A little bit dangerous. Now, Weekend, you're the jungler here. You see Bologna was holding the mid lane. Would you have wanted him to take the back camps there, or would you want him to wait?
I would have wanted to split mid and back camps just to be efficient, but sometimes the game goes the way it goes, and you just have to do the hand you're dealt with.
So you like the audible?
I mean, Kiki does it to me, and it's just something you got to deal with. Sometimes you don't get to tell everyone what to do.
Just sometimes.
Yeah. Just most of the time. 2-1 here. Epsilon with a very slight lead, despite the fact that they do have the higher kill advantage. The experience difference a little bit better. The issue to me, though, is that Variety's death there really hurt him. Cabrakan is a character that really requires a sick amount of gold to be relevant. And with him going into boots first, which is a little strange, considering normally we see the Mystical Mail Rush come out of Cabrakan's, I think he's more trying to augment the fact that the jungler is magical. Probably something they thought of when they were building this comp is they wanted to make sure not to stack the physical damage as much as possible against the Cabrakan.
It was just disheartening for me to see the Cabrakan die right there because he juked the Raven jump just enough that he would be out of it and able to turn around and throw the ultimate onto the Odin. Just, like I said, battle the basics, a little help from minions, and Dimmy goes ahead and wins the trade.
Variety getting rushed down here should have access to... Okay, he's just going to walk away. Ninja Dimmy has been a little bit off the mark on those bird bombs today.
The first one, I think I give credit to the dodger. The second one, that was a little quick on the trigger, as we see a long lane death. Go ahead in the dual lane. Barn is going to fall for Team Dignitas, giving Epsilon a third kill.
You know, for what Emelito lacks as a decision maker, he more than makes up for in mechanics. Also, did Frosty just steal that? Oh, so back to that, you know, we have Barn here, who is not known as a hunter player. This is very similar to maybe early Season 1 Zimstar forced into that hunter role. Dimmy in a lot of trouble here. Will he have enough mana? He has the blue buff, just trying to bide his time. And he should be fine here. I don't see him getting caught too much.
We'll take a look. We'll see just how much mana he does. And he turns around. 2 members of his team come out and help out. The stun from Isis will miss. So will the slow silence. But the wing gust is good enough. 2 out of 4 will hit. Not enough for the kill. So the rotation from Yaman and adapting, not quite able to help out their short lane. But they do get away with saving their teammate.
So Weekend, we're going to turn to you for a second. Odin gets trapped in the cage, or traps himself really in the cage. You have the Cabrakan ult coming out. You see the Bologna chasing him around, pretending that you were the Odin. Do you feel he was in any real danger there?
I definitely think he should have died. I think the Cabrakan and the Bologna got a little ahead of themselves and didn't really synchronize everything. You saw the ground pounder, the Tremors come out, and Bologna. It came out late. Bologna couldn't even get to him. He body blocked the Bologna, then Tremors came out, and it was too late.
All right, so Odin probably should have fell there. As I kind of expected, Ninja Dimi somehow gets out of another exchange. Still 1-0 after his kill on a Cabrakan. Having a really hard time here is Variety, but I mean, that's kind of been the analysis for me for a while. Variety always seems to be just one slight step behind the enemy solo laners, and now fighting Ninja Dimi, one of the most mechanically sound players in Europe, it's going to be very hard for him to make a mistake and come back from it. And already, again, being 0-1, he's 300 gold down, still only has the boots online, no defenses. I'm expecting a better jungle presence here.
From adapting?
Yes, big time. I want to see adapting rotate and just take him down. Without those defenses, he has Bird Bomb, they lock him in the cage, and then King of the Eastern Seas, I mean, my man will destroy it.
Yeah, adapting. And with this Ao Kuang really comes online. Do you play much Ao Kuang Weekend?
I don't play much. I've played a decent amount against it, and I know the god is very strong and in the jungle. I'd actually like to see him focus on the duo lane. You said Barnes is filling in, or he's the new hunter right now, and you have to assume he isn't fully comfortable, and I would love to see the pressure put on that side of the map, especially with the Gold Fury there.
Right. You have to play the game. You have to play the game both inside the lines and what I call like outside of the lines. So the inside of the lines meta game is the meta. It's Ao Kuang rotating, doing what he's doing, largely talking what Brandon was talking about. But you also have to take a look at who's playing what, their play style. Is this player aggressive? Is this player inexperienced like Barn, as you said, and sort of work to really juice that.
Jeez, Cabrakan. I did not expect him. I mean, I should at this point expect that move. Refraction Shield is the magical equivalent of Feather Step. It's just like, there's no way it's going to hit me for 400 damage. And then it hits you for 450 damage.
I like that pull, Raffer. So Raffer just pulls Barn. There's no kill potential. There's absolutely nothing a lone Sylvanas can do to take out that on her. No one's around at the point. Raffer pulled him just to show him he could, just to insert a little bit of dominance into this lane. There's really no other reason for it. I love those little style plays. It's a lot of fun to see.
We're getting past the 8-minute mark. Still not going to see mid camps for about another minute or so. But Gold Fury is still available, and yet no attempts, which is a little strange considering both teams have a very tanky lineup, and neither of them are willing to rotate their solo laners yet.
And Devo Gloves being built by both hunters, Brandon, so that usually lends itself towards early Gold Furies.
Yeah, those are definitely gauntlets.
I thought they were devotion gloves.
Yeah, devotion gloves. The devotion to sitting in lane and farming up stacks for 3 items.
Pretty much. Soulstone on the raw. This is something that we see routinely from only Shadow Nightmare.
No, Titan. Pretty Prime brought that item in. God, I just hate it so much.
He doesn't, but that's the thing. Pretty Prime doesn't build it every single time Shadow Nightmare takes the battlefield. He's building this item on whatever god.
How do you feel about this item? See, before you answer, though, I feel it's harder because Kiki is always being camped. He needs that 100 health.
Okay, well, we were scrimming one time. Kiki went the soul item, and he died by 1 auto attack. And that auto attack led to me dying instead of getting a double kill. Ever since then, I've been against the item. I hate it. I never want to see it.
See, I like when Titan builds it, right? because Titan starts, right side back camps into speed buff, and then the jungler just camps him the whole game, and they don't do the 3-minute mid lane that every other mid does. He's always in the jungle. He's always moving. He never even pretends that he's going to fight, which is such a big deal. But no one seems to care the Shadow Nightmare has built this item.
By the by, guys, as we approach the 10-minute mark, Harpies did spawn a third time. Epsilon picked up the side on the left, and Team Dignitas picked up the side on the right. So really no aggression coming out from either of these teams to really assert any sort of dominance over these mid-camps. Really happy and content to just go ahead and trade them.
So Doom Orb coming out here for Outquan.
Do more.
A little bit late, but going to do a ridiculous amount of damage. Once you see him get about 22 to 25 stacks online, I'm going to expect that we're going to see a lot of gank potential. At that point, they will have more than paid for themselves, and his damage is going to skyrocket. Another big thing here is that we do see Traveler shoes coming out on the right side. That's going to be Frezzo, as opposed to on the left, we see the Magi boots, damage boots coming out. We've seen Incon build both throughout the season. Why the different pickups here? Why aren't they solidified in their choice?
I can only assume that the Athena is looking to play. Well, you saw he bought Vanguard to start off with, so he's missing the Watcher's Gold, and they're playing a safe lane. Barnes is new, and they're playing safe. They aren't looking to kill. They aren't looking to really put themselves out there. So it's a really good choice, I think.
Something that's very curious. I'm going to stick to this Doom Orb. If you know me, you know I love my Doom Orb Heartseeker. So the Heartseeker offers movement speed, which the Doom Orb doesn't, which that's going to be a large part of why, as we see a little bit of aggression, pull miss by Raffer. That's why a physical jungler can start with the Heartseeker. The Doom Orb, if you're playing a magical jungler, if you want Doom Orb, do you start with it, or is that why we see the boots before the Doom Orb on the Sao Kwang?
I think the boots brings way more to Sao Kwang early. You have the rotation capability. You can move around. It is a little bit more damage. You don't have to rely on the stacks. I personally don't buy Doom Orb. In the competitive setting, you're going to assume you're going to die. And because of that, I just don't like an item where you lose your stacks.
And, I watched your Hobwat Jungle this morning. And what happens with the Doom Orb stacks when you die?
Yeah, you don't have any.
So very confident.
He won that game, to be fair.
So adapting, I guess you could say, is being very, very confident in building this Doom Orb. I mean, honestly, not a bad look. As you said, as we talked about before, you got to sort of play inside and outside the lines. Adapting, very hot player this season. Hold that thought. Blink in. There's the Wrath of Terra. That's going to knock up Frezzo. Damage coming out from the on-her, not enough to really secure. But here's the rest of Team Dignitas.
One needs two more. No, actually, Ross heal was not good enough. Emilito going to fall there. They'll probably trade a 2-for-1
smack
unless Alquan comes in big. He's looking for a lot. Spirit Ball all going to be used. Wing Gust trying to do damage over the wall. Doesn't really do a lot. He will blow up the decoy for some damage, but that's a win for Dig. That's a 2-for-1.
It's going to be a good play coming out from Team Dignitas. Rotation out of the solo lane. Cabrakan finds himself holding up in the mid lane.
Now, I like the rotation here. Both solo laners make the transition because they know the Fire Giant and Gold Fury are both at risk. Also, adapting, blowing him up, taking in the overall fight for a 2-2. That actually turns this massively in favor of Team Epsilon, considering the fact that their respawn timers are up. They have a 28-second power play here, and they could use this to pressure the left side. Nijadimi, no, not on the slow.
We recently saw a combination Odin-Vulcan, where they would put the ring down and the Vulcan ultimate covered the entire circumference of the ring. Well, that's exactly what we saw here with Odin Isis. Isis puts the ultimate over the entire circle of the ring, so if you're trapped in there, you're going to get hit or healed by the burst.
Well, I mean, that's what I've always assumed why AFK liked to build it from the jungle, because Isis was in 100% of their games at one point, and it shut down so many parts of the team fight and allowed them to reinitiate and initiate at their whim because they can utilize that just chemistry so well.
Yeah, I really like just the initiating point of Odin, and then having a mid laner who can play Isis to its full potential. It just allows you to do so much more with Odin.
And that's the key right there in your statement, is the last phrase, to its full potential. Isis, one of the more complicated gods once you actually get into it. On paper, it looks very simple. You got a line attack, you got a ball thing, a silence. I'm not going to read it. It's a silence, right? There's a whole lot that goes on in that kit, but being able to utilize the open-ended combo system that Isis really has, and understanding that ultimate isn't best used in a pop for extra damage, but to really absorb everything that's going on in the team fight and then later on pop out, as you said. That's the key. That's why Brian and I have discussed multiple times on broadcast how we're looking for that next Isis, that really crazy Isis to see.
And it's for real. I mean, it's Kiki, it's Mace. You got Lobster in there as well.
Sure.
I mean, there are so many players that are really starting to get it, and I think Sayo kind of led that pack and was so incredible with this god for so long, and no one seemed to ever really pick up what he was doing.
No one cared about Isis.
Until Kiki's like, I have to be a mid laner now? Are there even girls in that lane? And there are.
A couple.
There's
like
her.
Athena.
Yeah, Athena, Arachne.
15 minutes in, folks. We're seeing a little bit of aggression, a little bit of surprise around this Gold Fury. Team Dignitas showing up just a little bit, and Epsilon, they're going to pull this. And right now, this is definitely an option select.
Wow, that is damage.
It's gone.
That was a circle of protection with the Dragon Call Bird Bomb. Like, we didn't even mention the Hunter.
Yeah.
Like, right? Hunters are the people known to do the damage. They blow up the circle of protection, slap that Hand of the Gods right down, and take a clean 1,500 gold. And I think this is what we were expecting coming into this with Epsilon, is maybe the early game was going to have Dig fare pretty well. You know, laning phase is always kind of a coin flip. But when it gets down to the team side of things, it's going to be very hard for the Dignitas roster to keep up.
Aggression onto the mid lane. Isis will be fine. Team Dignitas now has a whole lot in their hand, and Shadow Nightmare, the Ra, gets a snipe from a million miles away, goes ahead and claims the death onto Yaman all by himself. Wrath of Terra, here comes the counterattack. In comes Ram from the side. Couple of hits is good, but adapting gets the execute.
Oh, Ninja Demi again with the Bird Bomb. Off the mark, completely baited by Frezzo. They're trying to push this one forward. In fact, Alquang landing in the mid lane, trying to force this 4v4. You got to hand it to Dig there. They jumped in, they got the Bologna ult, and Shadow Nightmare really showing a Lobster-esque style of raw play. He threw out that beam at the second she jumped, just saying, I trust you to land this stun, let's get this kill, and they got it.
It's also one of those beautiful, beautiful blink from adapting. Maybe that's why he bought the Doom Orb. felt safe in his ability to do that. But Isis was behind the tower, what should have been safe, and just the Ra, no other god besides Ra, maybe Kugel Khan, could have really nailed the length of that. So that Isis got away, and the kill was robbed by Shadow Nightmare.
So next up on the list here for the Alquang, you're going to see an Enchanted Trinket here. Now, this could be one of two things. It could be...
Lifesteal?
Oh, well, it's going to be Lifesteal. It could be Demonic Grip, or... I'm not sorry, not Demonic. It could be Polynomicon or...
I think it's going to be Polynomicon.
Wow. What is this? All right, so real quick, let's hover once Yaman is safe here. If he's safe. If he's safe,
big.
God.
If the taunt into the ultimate coming out from Shadow Nightmare. Great
He's
turnaround
alive.
Spirit Ball. Raffer probably going to look for the pole. He does, but Roma Invicta gets away safely thanks to the jump.
See, I told you to be safe. So yeah, let's take a look at Alquang here. I want to see how much damage he actually has, just like his overall stat gain. So 280. Looking pretty strong, and Polynomicon's going to be, is it 50%? It got changed. I don't remember what it is.
Polynomicon will be 60% of your magical power as additional magical damage for the next basic.
So what do you think, man?
Yeah.
We got the Polynomicon on board.
I've never seen a build like this. I mean, he's making it work, so you can't really criticize it.
Remember, Poly applies on hit effects. Technically, the 3 is an activation of the Polynomicon and an application of the Polynomicon.
Yeah,
Plus, it'll hit with the dragons.
The item's definitely going to work for him. It's just something you don't see. It's that European meta. You never know what you're going to get.
I mean, the mentality right there is on the paper. Well, I have this Doom Orb. I have an absorbent amount of power because of it. Let me make use of it.
But she just ageist all of that. Are you serious?
Cabrakan has hit her one too many times, and because of that, Yaman has really picked up on it. Epsilon will get the mid tower. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Epsilon will win the fight under the long lane tower. Alquang going to go ahead and chase Frosty X through the wall. Spirit Ball won't hit, and that will send Adapting back.
I think Weekend just became a believer in the Polynomicon because he just went, we're going to get a lock-in here. Demi trying to rush down Variety here. Frezzo in some trouble as well. But no, not a lot of damage. They'll throw down that huge Eagles rally for some extra protections. Epsilon still with a massive advantage here. Lotus Crown going to be used and abused as Ninja Demi jumps into what could be death.
Another long-range Spirit Ball coming out from Isis right there. Adapting, using the ultimate. He's going to bite him from the top. Emilito confirms the kill on a Frostiak from all the way in the jungle. Adapting throws the dragons, picks up another kill, and confirms the 5 deaths on the side of Team Dignitas. Barn just spawned since he was killed under the long lane tower. Epsilon's going to go ahead and push forward. They've gotten that deicide, and they've gotten 2 towers right here, folks. And with that, that will put them significantly in the lead. 11-4, read the kills as we're 19.5 minutes into this contest. And with that tower falling, they're going to secure a 6,000 gold lead.
Dude, I'm a believer in this Alquang build.
He's playing this, like, he has a very offensive build, and he's playing it perfectly. He didn't take any damage in any of that last team fight.
Which is not an easy thing to do as Alquang.
No, not at all.
There's almost no way to get in and out of a fight as Alquang and be able to get kills like that without taking damage.
Well, a large part of it was how much Yaman was helping. Those long-range spirit balls, the silence is also a slow, just keeping that up. And then Emilitu running or adapting. Or no, it was Emilitu running the artillery, killing Frostiak on the aggression.
I mean, a lot of that had to do with Yaman landing that huge silent slow and putting him inside the Rama ult. But I think a lot of it didn't come down to Yaman so much as it came down to Dig throwing all this damage into Yaman himself.
The Athena ult is going to come in, so the Fire Giant call might have been a little premature. Variety gets the kill out of Emilito. I see a lot more members of Team Dignitas than I see Epsilon here, adapting, lurking, but not quite there yet. And that's going to give Team Dignitas 1 kill to even up, well, not even up, but sort of trickle down on that lead.
They're not going to get much out of this. They don't really have the levels and damage
Maybe they can get some picks, Brandon.
They could definitely fight for it. Raffer already extremely low. He's going to go down. They should continue this fight. Avoid the Fire Giant. They can't be in a position right now to bait.
Great ring by Ninja Demi's going to stop the aggression for a second. And Barn jumps out, grabs the Impale, and lands the stun and the kill. Double taunt. Beads out is adapting. Ninja Demi does not have that luxury, but he'll jump after being controlled by the Tremors for just a second. With that, Team Dignitas is going to go ahead and turn around. Adapting somehow gets the kill on the Frezzo.
Tower shots are not a joke.
There it is.
Staying way too long inside. Throws out the Dragon Call. That's going to be a very long cooldown for him to incur when he's trying to defend this tower. Nice counter initiate all around from Team Dignitas. The Fire Giant call was definitely premature, especially with Gold Fury coming up. They get caught for it. They lose not only a bunch of structures, but a lot of gold. Let's check the graphs.
That was a big, big swing. Previously in the lead by 6,000. Team Dignitas cuts that almost in half with what looked like a very small engagement.
So, even so, Epsilon's still standing super strong. Weaken adapting is level 19 right now, getting closer, but he's in trouble. We were going to ask you if you think he was going to be able to shut down the next team fight. Well, now I have no question for you.
Well, you know what I'm liking to see, seeing before they were focusing this Isis over and over and over again, and he was turning the fight. Yeah, they finally focused the squishy Alquang, and he instantly dies.
Which was exactly what they should have been doing the whole time. Once she bought into that Aegis, there was no reason for them to try to contest her anymore.
Team Dignitas starting the Fire Giant. Epsilon is still here, most notably Raffer, who's got the Hog 3 online. Isis ult forced out very, very early. It looks like Team Dignitas has completely stopped fighting the Fire Giant, just ready to fight the fight.
Right here, this is the trouble when fighting a Ra in the end game. If you don't bring him out of the fight, and the fight actually washes, he just sits there and heals his team back up. Frostiak was at critical health and somehow gets back to about 60%. Now looking at the Gold Fury, they have options here on the side of Epsilon. Weaken, are you looking to try to counter the Fire Giant against the ward, or are you trying to get to that Gold Fury as fast as possible?
Realistically, they should have noticed they were backing off, and they kind of poked out the Bologna. So that's when you shift towards the middle of the map to be ready for either Fire or Gold. They're going to have to give it up for free here and just hope the next Fire Giant fight goes their way.
No presence at all from Epsilon. Raffer's over there doing mid camps, and Yaman trying to get a red buff. So nothing on Gold Fury, which is still not even down yet. Keep in mind, there's no Hunter. There's an Athena and a Kabrakan here. Raffer finally notices, and they do hog the Gold Fury. So Team Dignitas picks up that Gold Fury and shortens the Epsilon lead even more so. Really picking up all the pieces that they need to tighten this game up.
6,000 gold, now it's like 2?
Within a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty impressive comeback.
Very impressive comeback. Team Dignitas sort of, I don't want to say, like, I mentioned it was a smaller encounter before when they sort of took them off a Fire Giant. These all have been large sort of results from small engagements and encounters.
I'm looking at Barn a lot for this, despite the fact that there's a 2-level disadvantage for him. Given the fact that he's a sub in a role that I don't know that he actually plays at a very, top level, and the fact that, and no offense to Frezzo, Raffer is considered by many to be the best support in EU, if not tied for first, right? I mean, he's incredible. This lane should have been domination front to back, and somehow Barn not only is not too far behind, but the last 2 team fights, he was a very core part of the fact that they won.
Yeah, just Sometimes you just smell victory, and that's exactly what Barn is trying to do, at least. It's a 2-game split, so wants to keep the first game off on a good start at the very least.
Wow, that was a lot of gold worth of wards that they just took down. Ninja Demi trying to fight back there. It's going to come down to the fact that Raffer does have a sentry, so does Demi, which means they should win the vision fight in the long run. But Variety picks one up as well before getting back to this team fight. So Team Dignitas has great control here, and they've got to use it.
Really looking for an opportunity. You know, it's tough right here. This is generally where we sort of see no man's land, sort of hurry up and wait around the fire giant. As a player, as a caster, we see this a lot. As a player, what exactly are you doing?
You know, if I'm Dignitas here, they obviously want to be the initiators. They don't want to get initiated on, but they can't initiate on the Odin. They can't initiate on the Sylvanas. They can't initiate on the Isis. And then the Rama's on the other side of the map.
Even if Emilito loses this fight, it could still be pretty good for him. He needs all 3 shots here. Gonna find 2. Third one right on the mark. Gonna get a huge kill. And with Athena on this side of the map, we're gonna have a massive power play. Frostiak stuck out of position. We're just waiting for the Eagles rally. He uses it. And again, Raffer right on the mark. You're stuck in the cage, and I don't see you getting out.
More damage coming out from Epsilon as they are the central fight of this focus right now. Epsilon slinking into the right-hand jungle, chasing Bologna, and we'll see how they go.
She's in trouble here. Her passive wore off. Oh, Ninja Demi with a small miss there. Bird bomb. It doesn't get juked, but she still goes down.
Adapting finds her in the back line. Variety now the subject of everyone's... Well, there's nothing else to say, folks. He will eventually die. Little tanky right there from the Cabrakan. Adapting picks up another kill, all while the Hunter is split
He's out of
pushing.
mana.
The Firebird very, very, very low, but Emilito picks it up anyway. Turns on to Frezzo, who's going to go ahead and look towards the Titan, and it looks like all of Epsilon.
Damn. So tell us about the wave, Weekend. What does the wave do?
It's the same as taunting, but I mean, me as a player, I don't recognize it. It really gets in some people's heads, though.
Like, does it like increase your damage?
It's just it's a great anti-taunt. Like it does the like I said, it has the same effect. If you're in a game like that where Emilito just made a huge play, he really did make a huge play by taking on Barnes, pulling everyone to the other side of the map.
It's crazy because they both went all in, right? Emilito cannot rotate fast enough to control the fire giant, but he's beating Barn in the lane in a proper boxing match that he forces the Athena ult and then still not only wins the engagement, but takes a structure and the Phoenix directly after it. That was really an all-in strategy from Epsilon, and it wound up paying off big time.
One of the bigger individual plays we've seen, honestly.
Probably all split, actually.
Yeah, Smite is largely team-oriented, but being able to... That right there was an individual play. We saw that very, very rarely. Basket Robin won that with a Loki split push.
Which was dope.
Yeah, we've seen some really exciting individual plays, but just a couple, really.
And, you know, for me, if a team's going to do that, it makes sense that it's going to be Epsilon because, again, Raffer has talked about this multiple times. He didn't put the 5 best players in Europe on a team. He took the 5 best people in mechanics that he felt that were free agents, and he played Moneyball. He just took 5 people that could get on base, and he's just like, get on base. And that's what they've done, all split. And it's been actually really incredible to watch.
It's working out for them for sure. Right-hand side, we'll see the pressure coming out from Epsilon. This is the side with the fire giant. Don't most teams normally want to head to the left-hand side, Weekend?
I would say they're looking to end this game before the next fire giant, honestly.
Yeah.
And with the fact that the left side Phoenix is already down, you should consider the fact that this is technically a split push. Those fire minions, they got about a wave and a half, closer to 2 waves on the left side, just in that small grouping. Frezzo very low already, and boom goes the dynamite. Circular protection throwing out about 700 damage there. They're able to pick it up right after. Emilito out of position and is down.
Yeah, just a little too aggressive from the Hunter from the side of Epsilon, but the rest of the team just aggressive enough. Adapting just chows down on Variety right there using the execute.
And right
pops out in a very aggressive manner. Takes out Frostiak as well for the Doubleun, looking to pretty much just stay alive right now as he's very, very low. He'll let his teammates do the work. Yaman picks up a kill onto Shadow Nightmare. The Firebird will fall down, and Adapting getting aggressive one more time. The only one alive on the side of Team Dignitas is Barn.
They should have, I really think they should have just rushed right in. They didn't need this mid-Phoenix. All they really needed to do was shove that last wave of fire minions in there, but I don't think it's going to matter in the long run with the massive power play and the fact that the 2 people they're facing down are probably the 2 people that are behind the most on the team. Odin Cage will come down, block him out, and probably end the game. First game going to Epsilon.
So Epsilon came out really, really strong. go ahead and take game one, come up on top. That's sort of what you and I had predicted. We didn't